Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world went dark, total dark, and your ancestors sat inside that darkness for thousands of generations. So why does a part of you still flinch when the lights go out? The real answer is far stranger than simple fear of the unknown. You've probably heard the easy explanation. Humans fear the dark because we can't see predators coming. That's true, but it's incomplete. It treats darkness like a single, simple threat, when for your ancestors it was something much bigger. It was a nightly collapse of the entire world they understood. Every sense they relied on during the day became useless. Sight, their dominant tool for reading danger, simply switched off. What was left? Sound, smell, and memory of what might be out there. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent years studying the Jew/Honsi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups to preserve extensive oral storytelling traditions tied to firelight. She found something remarkable. During the day, conversation was practical. Gossip, complaints, logistics. But at night, around the fire, the stories changed completely. They turned toward myth, ancestors, distant lands, cautionary tales. Darkness didn't just hide the world. It transformed how people used their minds. Why would evolution wire your brain to think differently once the sun goes down? Here's where it gets stranger. Your fear of the dark isn't really a fear of darkness itself. It's a fear of the unknown occupying a knowable space. During the day, you build a mental map. You know where the threats are roughly. A ridge with predator tracks. A river bend where something dangerous drinks. At night, that map dissolves. The environment doesn't change, but your ability to verify it does. And an unverifiable world is, to your ancestral brain, a world full of monsters. This is where the amygdala comes in. That's the almond-shaped cluster of neurons deep in your brain responsible for threat detection. Neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux, who spent decades mapping fear circuits in the brain, showed that the amygdala doesn't wait for confirmed danger. It responds to ambiguity. A rustle in the grass doesn't need to be a lion. It only needs to be uncertain. In daylight, uncertainty resolves quickly. Your eyes finish the sentence, darkness starts. At night, the sentence never finishes. Your amygdala stays switched on, scanning, guessing, bracing. Now think about what that meant for a small band of hominins, maybe 50 individuals, sleeping in the open 2 million years ago. No walls, no locks, no streetlights. Every unresolved sound was a live question with real teeth attached to the wrong answer. The bands that survived weren't the fearless ones. They were the anxious ones. The individuals who startled at shadows, who huddled closer to the fire, who woke at the faintest crack of a branch. Fear wasn't a flaw in the system. It was the system working exactly as designed. And then came fire. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has argued that the controlled use of fire may be one of the single most transformative moments in human evolution, not just for cooking, but for extending the day itself. Fire didn't just provide warmth. It pushed back the boundary of the unknown by a few meters in every direction. It gave your ancestors a small, defensible circle of certainty inside an ocean of ambiguity. Notice that even now, thousands of years later, you still feel calmer near a lit candle in a dark room than in that same room with no light at all. That instinct is not sentimental. It's ancient infrastructure, still running in the background of your nervous system. But fire did something else too. It gave humans time. Extra hours each day, hours the body wasn't demanding sleep or forcing daylight labor. And what did your ancestors do with that stolen time? They talked. Wiessner's research found that firelit storytelling sessions could stretch for hours, weaving myths about spirits, warnings about behavior, cautionary tales about wandering too far. This is where a second, stranger layer of the dark begins to reveal itself. The fear wasn't only about predators lurking outside the firelight. It was about the stories humans told each other about what lurked outside the firelight. Every culture on Earth, independently, developed dark-adjacent monsters. Spirits, demons, shapeshifters, night hags. Why would isolated cultures across every continent invent nearly identical categories of nighttime threat? Because the fear predates the myths. The myths are explanations layered on top of a feeling that was already there, biologically, before language existed to describe it. Humans didn't invent fear of the dark because of ghost stories. Humans invented ghost stories because of a fear that already needed a shape. This is where the story takes its clearest twist. You might assume the fear of darkness is primarily about physical danger, predators, falls, getting lost. But psychologist and researcher Terry Hartig, who studies environmental psychology and directed attention, has pointed to something subtler. Darkness removes what he calls soft fascination, the gentle visual engagement your mind uses to rest and self-regulate. Without visual input to anchor your attention, your mind doesn't go blank. It goes inward, and often it goes toward worry. Ever notice how problems feel bigger at 3 a.m. than they do at noon? That's not coincidence. That's the same ancient mechanism, still firing, just without a lion attached to it anymore. Which brings you to the modern mirror. You don't sleep in open grassland anymore. You sleep behind locked doors in climate-controlled rooms, often with a phone glowing on the nightstand. And yet you still feel it, that specific, low hum of unease when the last light switches off. You still check the shape in the corner of the room twice before your brain accepts it's just a coat on a chair. You still, on some level, listen. That listening is not irrational. It's inherited. It's 50,000 generations of nightly vigilance compressed into a single flinch. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. That flinch used to save lives. The version of you that startles at a strange sound in the dark, that feels a flicker of unease walking to your car in an empty lot, that reaches for a light switch without quite admitting why, is running software built by ancestors who needed exactly that reflex to make it to morning. You are not broken for feeling uneasy in the dark. You are, in a very real sense, remembering. Modern life has mostly solved the predator problem, but it never rewired the part of your brain that keeps score. Every unresolved shadow still gets flagged. Every silence still gets scanned. The system doesn't know the world changed. It only knows its job, and its job has never officially ended. So tonight, when you flip that switch and the room floods with light, notice the small, automatic relief that follows. That relief is ancient. It's not really about seeing your room clearly. It's about your ancestors, huddled at the edge of a fire 200,000 years ago, watching the flames push the unknown back just far enough to breathe. You inherited their nervous system. You inherited their vigilance. And every single night, without knowing it, you inherit their relief too.